This is part 3 of the Partner Selection and Marriage lecture. I will start off by talking about factors related to marital success among interracial or interethnic couples. I want you to pay attention to a theme of similarity within couples across a variety of domains outside of race and ethnicity. And note that having commonality in these domains appears to be protective of marriages. So first, let's talk about factors related to marital success among interracial or interethnic couples. The first factor is acculturation, which is basically an identification with the mainstream culture. Individuals start adapting and acquiring features of the culture one is situated within. So there are individual differences in how enmeshed people are in their culture. For example, a first-generation immigrant may identify less with the mainstream culture than a fourth-generation immigrant. Typically, more accultured individuals fare better in interethnic or interracial unions. Next, there is religion. Adding religious differences to cultural differences can compound problems. For example, having both religious and cultural differences between spouses may add stress to the marriage, which can make it more difficult to have a successful marriage. Socioeconomic status, or SES, is another factor. Again, adding social class differences to ethnic or racial differences between spouses may make things more difficult. Those that have greater discrepancies between their ethnic groups and values is also related to greater difficulties in the marital relationship. For example, if spouses have differing values about parenting, communication, or anything else, it can cause problems in the marital relationship. So again, remember to notice this theme of similarity. Having similarity in values and other factors is a protective factor for interracial marriages. Cultural familiarity is another factor that is related to marital success. Having some experience with and knowledge of the other person's culture is beneficial and protective. There is also a greater chance for marital success if both spouses' families are supportive of the couple's relationship and marriage. We refer to this as the extended family agreement. Lastly, neighborhood setting is a factor that can impact marital success. Living in a multi-ethnic neighborhood may have a positive effect for interracial or interethnic marriages. Now let's talk about arranged marriages and love matches. Arranged marriages are most likely to occur in South Asia, India, Islamic societies such as Saudi Arabia, Egypt. In fact, in Egypt, 50 to 75% of all marriages are arranged, and China. Although this occurs to a lesser extent in China than it has in the past, China has been progressing away from arranged marriages and more toward love matches. So let's talk about the traditional perspective on marital choice, which demonstrates that love matches traditionally go from hot to cold, meaning that these type of marriages start out as romantic, passionate, and satisfying. And then reality sets in over the years and there is a decline in passion and marital satisfaction. The time prior to the wedding is the hot period, and after the wedding, reality sets in and some combination of things like domestic chores, child-rearing burdens, finances, and mundane everyday life tasks take over, which often result in a decline in romantic appeal. Arranged marriages are the opposites. They are typically viewed as going from cold to hot. That means that these relationships start out as high on commitment, but low on intimacy and passion. But that intimacy and passion for each other develops over the years into a strong, loving relationship. After the marriage, it is thought that the couples will get to know each other and through mutual concern, develop a mature form of love that can endure the test of time and family difficulties. It is also hypothesized that parents who are not blinded by love and romance have more experience and realistic expectations and will do a better job of selecting a mate for their child. So, I would like you to be thinking about the success, including both the stability and quality of arranged marriages versus love matches as you watch the next video segment. The clip is the 7th segment of the Love, Lust, and Marriage, Why We Stay and Why We Stray video that you watched earlier in this lecture. This segment will discuss modern and arranged marriages. The link to this video is available on Canvas, or you can search for the video online. So again, just pause this video so you can watch the segment on arranged marriages, then come back and we will finish the lecture talking about marital satisfaction over time. Okay, now let's talk about marital satisfaction over time. When we look at patterns of marital satisfaction over time, we see an inverted J shape. That is the most common pattern of marital satisfaction across time. For this pattern, marital satisfaction starts out high, declines during the middle years, which is often linked to those early child-rearing years that may be difficult on a marriage, and returns to a moderate level later in life, which could be when the children are grown. Couples who start out low in marital satisfaction are 4 to 5 times more likely to get divorced. But marital satisfaction alone does not predict divorce. There are many marriages that are stable, but the couples are unhappy, and there are also many unstable marriages with happy couples. Divorce also has to do with barriers to leaving the relationship and alternatives to the relationship. So if there are a lot of barriers to divorce, the couple may stay together even if they are unhappy. For example, couples may be staying together for the kids, financial reasons, values, or a lack of viable alternative partners. In contrast, if there are a lot of alternatives to the relationship, such as potential other partners, divorce might be more common. This perspective fits well with the exchange theory, which emphasizes seeking out the greatest rewards with the lowest costs in relationships, and this was discussed in the Knox and Schacht book, Chapter 5. So there are 2 primary reasons for declines in marital satisfaction over time, and those are children and time. Children may take away from couple time, increase stress and time demands, and require couples to make adjustments in their marital and parenting roles. Taking care of children may leave less time available for the couple's relationship, which can lead to more stress and reduced marital satisfaction. Dr. Carney from UCLA did a really nice job describing some of the negative effects that stress can have on couples in general in his article, Stress is Bad for Couples, Right? Posted by the National Council on Family Relations. Dr. Carney describes how stress can affect marital satisfaction because it can change what couples talk about and take time away from other, more positive activities. Stress also makes it more difficult for couples to engage in effective communication and conflict resolution. There is also a time effect for the decline in marital satisfaction over time. The changes in marital satisfaction, particularly that decline, may simply reflect that couples develop more realistic expectations about marriage in everyday life over time. Couples may enter marriage with really high expectations of what it will be like, but will develop a more realistic idea of what their marriage and what their everyday life will be like as time passes. There are also social and psychological factors to consider that may impact marital satisfaction over time. For example, income and education. Higher family income is associated with more marital satisfaction, and this is probably due to reduced financial stresses. Over the past several decades, there have been a widening divide between low and high educated individuals. Lower educated individuals experience lower rates of marriage, higher rates of cohabitation and single parenthood, and among lower educated individuals who do marry, a higher rate of divorce. And as we talked about earlier, individuals who do have higher rates of education do marry a little later than the national average, but tend to have marriages that are less likely to end in divorce. So income and education might also have an effect because these factors are greatly predictive of the number of resources that couples will have. Dr. Carney's article, Stress is Bad for Couples, right, emphasized that stress is likely to more negatively impact couples who don't have as many resources that might help them during stressful times. We can also talk about similarity and homogamy. Birds of a feather flock together, right? So similarity is the basis for partner selection. Homogamy means that the tendency for individuals to choose a mate who is similar to them. Heterogamy, on the other hand, means the opposite, the complementary needs theory that was mentioned in Knox and Schacht. But there is not much support for this opposite attracts perspective, and homogamy, or this idea of looking for similarities with a partner, is more predictive of marital quality. Characteristics where we tend to be the most similar with our partners or spouses are race and ethnicity, religion, socioeconomic status or SES and education, age, personality, psychological qualities, prior marital status, and physical attractiveness. These similarities are important in first marriages in predicting marital satisfaction. They are also very important for interracial couples. The more similar they are in other areas, the better marital quality they have, and the less likelihood that their marriage will end in divorce. Gender role attitudes also impact marital satisfaction over time. This has to do with the equality or discrepancies with behavioral expectations about who should fulfill what type of role. So, for example, differences in opinion about who is doing what type of housework, childcare, and breadwinning. An example of this may be if one spouse has more egalitarian attitudes, meaning they believe both spouses should share tasks equally, and one spouse has more traditional views, so believing in that breadwinner and homemaker model. Discrepancies in these expectations and the behaviors that come with them may cause stress and strain on the marital relationship. Lastly, being warm, nurturing, and sensitive to the other person's need is a predictor of marital satisfaction over time. There has been a famous quote about this: "Happiness is a feminine partner." And this is pointing out that those more stereotypical feminine qualities, such as being warm, nurturing, caring, and sensitive, are linked to greater marital satisfaction for yourself and your partner. So the more you are like this, and the more that you are with someone who is like this, the better marital satisfaction you will have. So although these are typically considered feminine traits or qualities, they are not only feminine traits or qualities. So finding a spouse that is warm, nurturing, caring, sensitive tends to be good for both individuals. Okay, so that is the end of the partner selection and marriage online lecture.